everyone, I'm Sylvia from Fairlight Tarot. Welcome to my channel. Today I am going to join the TarotTube community in doing a very popular hashtag, Deck Crush, which is a VR to a bunch of people. So Don Michelle, Danny Mystic, Lisa Pappas and Marlene Teresa. Deck Crush is related to decks I have a thing for. The first prompt is the Fling, a deck with which you had a short period of wild times. And for me, this has to be the Global Fusion Intuitive Tarot by Wayne Rodney. I've shown this deck a number of times on my channel already, so you probably know how much I'm in love with this deck recently. What I find so special about this tarot deck is the way it approaches tarot. And it's just the way in which you look at so many decks with this kind of themes, right? I mean, there's so many decks that depict this kind of world, which is a bit of a set in a dystopian future, but still very much present, modern, and it looks at, you know, all sorts of different kind of aspects of humanity. It's a very inclusive, very diverse deck, which I really appreciate. But it's also it's got a lot of cultural references that, to be honest with you, it's something you do need the guidebook for. Simply because, well, in my case at least, I am not necessarily familiar with some of these references. But that's what made it a fling for me, because I felt an immediate connection. And I felt like I wanted to discover more about this deck. And we're kind of in the, I would call it the honeymoon phase in the sense that everything is fine, everything is nice, everything is butterfly in the stomach whenever I look at this deck, whenever I use it, whenever I look and read the guidebook. And the fling is something that is not supposed to last, right? But I don't know. I mean, with this deck, I think I will probably mature the relationship into something more stable, you know, more Dr. Phil's kind of relationship. Because I do believe that it's got so much that it can give you. If you just put yourself with an open mind and you just listen to what this deck has to tell you. And it is my pleasure to discover and to listen every time that I use it. So this is the Global Fusion Intuitive Tarot by Wayne Rodney, and it's my choice for the Fling. The second prompt is Puppy Love, a deck with which you were infatuated but couldn't make a long-term commitment to. And it had to be the Terrorbot. And don't get me wrong, so this is by Michael Murdoch. Don't get me wrong, it's a beautiful deck. It's absolutely quirky and funny. Every time I look at it, I still feel the same. But then there's some knowledge that comes through, and you know, and it's just a sense of recognizing that I have been down this road, I have been using this deck. It was an amazing and magical relationship, but it wasn't there for the long run. You know, it's I wasn't, maybe, you know, it's not you, maybe it's me, as you do, as you say. And I was probably not in the right place when I got this deck in order to take that step and, you know, and commit for a long-term relationship. I just wasn't. And I still really appreciate the colors, which are so vibrant, and you see the artwork and the concepts expressed in this deck, which is clearly dealing with robots, but robots live a human life, and in many cases they are very expressive, like this Queen of Cups, for example. And it feels like their expressions are very human, It feels like, and again, it's another deck that is set in some kind of a dystopian future, which it seems to be kind of a thing for me lately. I don't know why, but it is what it is, and I'm just really enjoying looking at it. And as I said, it was great while it lasted, but I think we both knew that this wasn't going to last long. So this is the Terrorbot by Michael Murdoch, and it is my choice for the prompt Puppy Love. The third prompt is Friends with Benefits, a deck you care about, but sometimes you get extremely passionate for. It had to be Tarozzi. This deck, I think it's been featured so many times in my channel. It's by Alejandro Colucci, as you probably all know it by now. It is one of my favorite decks. This is the special edition by Los Carabeo. There's also, I have to tell you, the difference between the special edition and the, well, standard edition has got nothing to do with the cards. But just, and not even the guidebook, it's just literally a bigger box, and that's it. But you can definitely, if you want this deck, you can definitely get the standard edition, and you'll still get all the delicious darkness of this deck. This deck and we have that kind of relationship. I gush every time I see it. I literally just, my eyes looking at it turn into small little hearts. I love it, and I know that it's really unusual because it's a dark deck, because, well, it deals with, you know, zombies. It's Tarotzi, Z stands for zombies. The reason why I'm so passionate for this deck, it's because the way in which it portrays the zombies is so different from anything else I've ever seen before. These characters have what I keep on referring to as dignity. They're not the dull zombies, they're not the slow ones, they're also not the super quick, crazy, freaky ones in World War Z, for example. Although they do look similar to the ones depicted in that movie. But you see what I mean with this Tower card, for example. Let me see if I can get it closer. There is so much humanity, but it's a lost humanity in these characters depicted here. And it is clear to me that these zombies are not alien, if I can use that word. They're not different, they haven't started their journey as zombies, and the tradition says that they were human beings, and you can definitely tell that because they do retain that kind of strong human feel of fragility. And it's just really deep. I really do appreciate this deck for that reason. And it really gets me so passionate, because even though it's a quirky thing to say that you get, you know, passionate about a deck that depicts zombies, but this is the way I see them. By the way, so as I've said many times before, the guidebook of this deck is actually very helpful. It's very beautiful. It's not your typical little white book. It's not your large guidebook either, but it does refer to the elements of the specifics of the cards, not just, you know, keywords related to the star, for example. It really puts you in the mood. It gives you an atmosphere. It paints a picture. And that's what I really needed with this deck. So this is the Tarotzi by Alejandro Colucci, and it's my pick for the Friends with Benefits prompt. And the next prompt is Love at First Sight, a deck you loved from the start. And I just, you know, when I read this prompt, I was like, yeah, it has to be the Symbolic Soul Tarot by Elisa Seitzinger. This is also published by Los Carabeo, by the way. This deck, Everything about it for me was head over heels from the start. Well, first of all, the box, as you can see, it's the two-part box, which is really cool. One of the new ones from Los Carabel, which is very similar to the one, the Santa Muerte. I think it was one of the first one, the Santa Muerte, that they start, you know, releasing like that. But what the difference is between the Santa Muerte and this one is that, ta-da! It's not glossy, guys, it's matte, and it's a very beautiful kind of matte. It's a sturdy one, it's not too thick, but it's thick enough that you can take a lot of readings. And it's got gold foil. I don't know if I can show it. Yeah, probably, yeah, this way. So this deck, so Elisa Seisinger is the creator of the Tarot de l'Étoile Cachée, so the Tarot of the Hidden Star, which is an indie deck. And her art style is very similar. So if you do have the Hidden Star, you probably recognize the way she expresses the meanings of the card, and the very peculiar kind of humans, the way she you know, constructs them and builds up the images in the cards. Particularly this one, it looks like humans are made out of parts in many of the cards, and it makes them look a little bit like dummies, you know, like the a shop dummy, something like that. I fell in love with this deck because it's not only beautiful, I do really like Elisa Seisinger's artwork. I enjoy the quality of the product itself. It reads really, really well, but also because, again, kudos to Los Carabel for making an effort when publishing the guidebook. And I always like to refer to this card whenever I talk about these tarot's guidebook. So basically you have a part in the guidebook in which, as usual, it tells you the general meaning of the card. So you've got the Five of Pentacles, the loss, being left out in the cold, loneliness, but sometimes, well, depending on the deck, sometimes you have one lonely figure, sometimes you have someone that shares that kind of loneliness and sense of loss with you, like in this case. But what I do appreciate about this particular deck is that after the part where it gives you all the explanation of the cards, there is one section which is called Behind the Scenes. And for many cards, not all of them, but for many cards, it gives you the very specific inspiration of the card itself. So in this case, if you're Italian, you would recognize these two figures. They're called mamutones, and mamutones are very, very well known in the traditions of the island of Sardinia. And they come from remote villages, and they come out, let's say, during the carnival period. And they are famous because they go around dressed in fur, as you can see. They wear really heavy and dark masks, wooden masks, like these ones. And because they are supposed to, they look scary to children, and in order to warn people of their arrival, they actually go around with these cowbells tied around their, you know, their shoulders and costumes. And the reason why this card has been, these figures have been picked for the Five of Pentacles is because there is that sense of not just being left out in the cold, but you have been pushed out. So it's not something that has just happened to you, but it happened to you because someone made it happen. And I really like this interpretation of the Five of Pentacles. And I really enjoy reading all the quirks of the cards. You know, there's so many things that if you pay attention to the details of all the cards, some of them are really quirky. And there you go, in the Quill card is, well, someone sitting on a loo, someone sitting on a toilet bowl, which is, you know, as you do, very weird. So I really, really enjoy this deck. It's been love at first sight. and it's as if it feels almost as if it's the first time that I see it every time that I look at it. So it's love at first and second and third, etc. sight, because it's just that cool. So this is the Symbolic Soul Tarot by Elisa Seisinger. And the next prompt is One Night Stand, a deck you tried out but moved on from almost immediately. Sometimes you still think about that deck. And it has to be this one. It's the Welcome to Night Vale Tarot, and it's the twin tarot to the Hayworth Tarot. Now, the Hayworth Tarot was the reason why I got the Welcome to Night Vale Tarot. They are both based on the podcast. So the podcast Welcome to Night Vale, which is absolutely incredible. But what happened was I got the other deck first, so the Hayworth Tarot, and I really loved it. Really, I think it became one of the most precious tarot decks that I have in my collection because I use it all the time. It's a fantastic reader. But let's look at this one, and the reason why I'm talking about the Hayworth Tarot is the reason why I bought this one, because basically I was so in love with the Hayworth Tarot that when I saw in their website that they were actually selling this deck as well, I immediately pushed the buy button because I thought, oh, I'm gonna love it just as much. And when I got it, I think I was still transported by my feelings for the Hayworth Tarot. And so it was the typical, you know, I tried it out, and I was like, it's not like the Hayworth Tarot. I mean, don't get me wrong, it is dark and beautiful and quirky, and the graphic novel style is absolutely amazing, and it's really deep, and it's got a lot of meanings. It doesn't come with a guidebook, by the way, but if you do listen to the podcast, you'll kind of get the feel for the choices behind the cards. But it's not the Hayworth. I mean, every time I use the Hayworth, it's like, oh my god, this deck is super cool. And I don't know, I felt like I wanted this deck to be like the Hayworth because, you know, same creators, same concepts and all, different art style, and it's just not. And I don't know why, because I really like the art style. It's not that, it's not a matter of aesthetics for me. I actually probably like the aesthetics of this deck a little bit better because I do prefer more saturated kind of colors, which the Hayworth doesn't have, but I don't know why, and I'm really sorry. But I had to move on. It's in my purgatory. I don't know. It's a beautiful deck though. So this is the Welcome to Night Vale Tarot, and it is my pick for the One Night Stand. And the next prompt, which is to be read with Ross Geller's voice, is We Were on a Break. So this deck is a deck you're being separated from for any reason. Now I had to go with the Serpent Fire Tarot, and I don't know, I feel that well, apart from the fact that there's a decade-long debate whether Ross and Rachel were actually on a break, and I saw a video the other day. It was so, well, the other day could have been like 3 weeks ago, but it was so much fun. So basically someone on Instagram posted a video of basically they put what was it? So they put a sign outside of their door for deliveries, and it was a sign saying, "Delivery guys, put the parcel on the right if you think that Ross and Rachel were on a break, or on the left if you think they were not on a break." And there was a camera outside filming the delivery guys' reactions. And I think that this person left a sign there for at least a week or something, so that, you can get, you know, a lot of reactions. And it was so much fun to watch, because obviously, you know, there were the ones that were really surprised when they saw the sign, they were reading it and they were thinking, and they were like, nah, I think they were not on a break, and then they put the parcel on the left, or the ones that were actually thinking that were on a break, and they put the parcel on the right. So it was really so much fun. And I'll tell you what, I mean, I am not gonna say I have a very strong opinion about that, but I'm not gonna say that because I know that it could be very spiky as a concept. So let's have a look at this deck. I think that I am very confused. So we were in love, and until we weren't. I don't know, that's the only way in which I can refer to what happened between myself and this deck. I got it, I used it, I studied it, I used it, I applied myself to it, I worked on it, we had a steady relationship, we were going steady. And then I think we just got, you know, too much into the routine, perhaps, and but we needed to be with someone else because we both felt like we were not exactly where we wanted to be when we were with each other. I don't know, it feels like I'm doing couples therapy now. But we I don't know, we just drifted apart. And then what happened was that I unfortunately bought the Radiant Wilds Tarot. And I fell for it, and it was so similar, but it made me feel better. It made me feel like a better person. And we just had to be on a break. And I don't know, this break is still on, and I don't know whether it'll be a permanent break or not. It is, though, a very beautiful deck, and I'm so very grateful for the months, years that we spent together. But we were definitely on a break. So this is the Serpent Fire Tarot by the Vale, and it's my pick for We Were on a Break. The next prompt is Marriage Material, a deck that has proven its value to you. The Forager's Daughter Tarot, but in particular, and I really have to make this distinction, it has to be the Afterlife edition. And there's a reason. I saw this deck for the first time on Sharon's channel. So Sharon's from Trio of Witches. And I thought to myself, this deck is so different from all of the other versions that I had already seen of this deck. So if you're not familiar, I think that there's at least 3 different versions of the Forager's Daughter Tarot. And so this is the Afterlife edition, but there's other editions that have colored borders. So the color, I think the color varies depending on the suit. But it had to be this one because it gives a completely different vibe to the deck. It's a different energy. It's a deck that, I don't know, when I saw it, I was intrigued. I got it, took a while to get it, but by the creator is absolutely fantastic. The book is amazing, and again, it was just something that I kind of tested it, and I was like, it cannot be this good, and so I was testing it, but every time I was testing it, it was coming through. It helped me a lot. We bonded. It's proven its value to me. I think that it definitely is marriage material. It's the deck that stands the distance. It's the deck that promises to be there, you know, in good times and in bad times. And it's the deck I want to, you know, wake up next to in the morning. So it's that kind of deck. It's just beautiful. Not just the artwork, the color palette, the difference between the borders that I pointed at before, the association between a natural world expressed in the depiction of the animals and the plants, the choice of these cards, but also the really good material. For example, it's a very soft kind of linen. The edging is, well, it's gold gilded, which is not my favorite, but it's a very high quality one. As I said, the guidebook is a large one. It's a hardcover. It's very beautiful. So it's one of those decks that, you know, it requires commitment, but it's really, really worth it. And it's the Forager's Daughter Afterlight Edition Tarot, and it's my pick from the marriage material prompt. And the last prompt is Happily Ever After, Your True Love in a Deck. And if you're watching my channel, you would have known that this would have been my pick. It's the Symbolic Tarot by Julie Whitelish. This deck is my true love. It's the deck that always comes through for me. It's the deck that it resonates so much. I feel like there is a bond, and there is such a strong bond that it's everlasting. And it's a bond that, but it's not a static thing. So it's something that I keep on working on. It's something that I keep on confronting myself with this deck every time I use it. But it's a good confrontation. It's something that makes me grow. This deck makes me want to be a better person, simply because whenever I use it, I'm reminding myself of what I can be, of what I have been, and what I can be in the future. So this deck, to me, and I know that it sounds really odd, but I've actually reached out several times to Julie. She's amazing. And recently I told her, Julie, this deck, honestly, it looks like it's my life. It looks like it's exactly what my life. These are all memories taken from myself. Okay, and she said, look, I know it's gonna sound weird to you, but when I was creating this deck, I felt like I was channeling something really powerful. And it doesn't surprise me, because as a writer myself, I know what it means when you feel like you're just there to do the dirty work. It's like, for me as a writer, I'm just the one writing. I'm just the one using the pen. It's my characters that come alive, and they talk to me and they tell me what to write, or they show it to me, and I'm trying to do my best to do them justice. And it's a creative process. If you have a creative mind, you will recognize these words. But this deck is literally, for each and every card, there's something that just triggers a memory for me, and I know exactly what the deck wants to tell me. We have these amazing conversations. It's literally my life. I could be one of these characters. I could actually be all of these characters, and it's an amazing experience. So this is the Symbolic Tarot by Julie Whitelish, and it was my pick for Happily Ever After. This was the last prompt, so I am so glad that you guys watched this video till the end. It was so much fun to do, and I hope you liked it too. So if you do, please consider subscribing to my channel. More to come. Have a great day.